Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone, and here we are, the one we've all been waiting for. Matt, we've been trying to sort this out for a while. Again, diary's not able to align, but I think it's worked out quite well doing this after the match play. How's Trex?
Yeah, I think the diary's probably changed more than ever recently. We'll get into that, actually, as we go through. Circumstances changing things, having to move things around, having to make things fit, house move as well, which kind of takes up time. So I know I always say I'm busy, but I think I'm probably busier than ever right now, which for me is great. I love being busy. I love I wouldn't know what to do with a day off.
Have you actually moved yet?
No.
Because I remember speaking to you before and you were waiting for a date and so on, so you haven't actually moved yet?
No, it's been a pain in the backside. We've been waiting for months, delay after delay. Then we've changed property, so we're hoping now it's a few weeks and we'll be in.
Nice. First of all, let's start with you. Let's get this out of the way because I'm excited by this. Put in a lot of time and effort to get ready for the Masters, and you came close. Has this changed your outlook on prime time now?
Yeah, 100%. I think I've always been limitations have sort of always been there because of the injury, the fear of that reoccurring. I've kind of been away from the injury now for about 8 to 10 months, to the point where I've been good. It's not been an issue, but I never really wanted to, and this is probably brutal honesty in the fact I never really wanted to commit to it because that fear of disappointment, that fear of letting yourself down as such. And I could completely felt it again, when I lost, certainly the quarterfinal of the Masters and the final of the World Open, I felt a feeling that I kind of never wanted to feel again, that I kind of protected myself from. When I think about Lakeside and I think about doing that, we can look back to the interviews we did. I was very happy to talk it down and almost talk about it as a finale. And the reason for that a lot of the time is just to accept it so it's not disappointing when it happens. I think I walked off Lakeside stage almost smiling, and I'm like, how can I lose in a world championship and be content? I should be angry. And I was when I lost these open events. Yes, I only had a 7-week run up to get ready for them, but it was a case of I got back to the room, the darts went across the room, the shoes went across. I'd say about 4 hours before I snapped out of it. When you're more experienced, you can get out of it after, people say leave them alone for 10 minutes. And we know the ones that need 20 minutes. We know to avoid them ones. But whenever someone loses, just leave them alone for 10 minutes and they're fine. But if you interact with them in them 10 minutes, it normally goes wrong. I was sort of 4 hours. That's how much I was invested in this. Now, I was only invested in it for 7 weeks. I had no intention of playing darts in 2026. Absolutely none. I wasn't even practicing, and the message came in, the invitation from England Darts, do you want to go to the Masters? And it's Vegas. It's 50-year anniversary. I've got 7 weeks. I looked at the diary. I thought I can practice. I messaged Kevin Painter. We set up some practice sessions. I thought I can go to the gym. I can train. I can do it. Is 7 weeks enough? I don't know. Opening leg. I'm on a 9 darter, 7 darts into a 9 in the opening leg. And that just settled me straight in. I was like, I can compete. And I played Callum Francis first, good player, and got that win. So it was like, okay, I'm in. And then we know how it unfolded. And now it leaves questions. And I've asked myself those questions. I've got the answers now. So I think I've got a plan.
Well, you kind of beat me to it there. That, like I say, that we were all watching with thinking, okay, let's see what can happen here. And like you say, you've thrown up a lot of questions to the watching public as well. Has that relit something within you, a fire that you didn't, like you say, you didn't want, but is that now burning too bright to ignore?
It was so unexpected, wasn't it? When I went there, I genuinely, my goal was, can I get out of my group? And the second the draw came out, I looked at it, I thought, Callum Francis, that's tricky. I can't pronounce the Japanese guy's name, so I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it. But I know he's been doing very well and picking up some good results. So I was like, this could be tricky to be in the top 2 here and I was watching there was an American guy in the group, I think he averaged 90 odd in the first game. So it's going to be tricky to get out of this group even. So my targets and my goals was quite low going into it. I didn't know what to expect. And when you come out of it on the other side the way I did, it's like, well, now what? I got a message from Connor Scott, who said, like, you've got 120 points. You're about 40 positions off a Lakeside. Not minutes after, I got a message from Glenn Durrant, who basically said you've got to go for it in his own unique way. And I looked at it and I thought, could I realistically give this a go? Do I want to give it a go? Yes, because I actually really enjoyed the process. You know, I really enjoyed it. I walked into a room riddled with self-doubt and question marks, and it came out well because of my preparation. You know I love me wrestling, and I remember a line while I was getting ready, I heard it from CM Punk, and he says, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your preparation. And I said that to myself over and over and over again. Yes, I only had 7 weeks, but I believed I was the most prepared person in that room. Nobody else was in the gym the way I was. Nobody else was putting in the hours the way I was. No one was doing the routines I was. Yes, you might have stood and thrown darts at a board, but everything I advocate for within my coaching and everything I advocate for with the things I say, I applied to myself. And I've run at about a 90 average, just shy of, for 17 matches. That's a good standard. You know, and I think there was a couple of things really that happened. One, I proved to myself I still could. There's a lot of new audience in darts who only know me with a microphone, who have no idea of what I was like beforehand. So they've now got a little bit of an insight that actually I can play this game. Like, I know I run myself down a lot, but I had 11 years on the tour. You know, like, I can play. And, you know, am I top 32? Probably not. Am I capable of being on the tour? Yes, absolutely. But my diary over there is full with dates, and to find the space to go to darts tournaments right now is very, very tricky. We've got things such as the ADC Global Championship coming up. We've got ADC Tour Finals coming up, which are big events now that are in the calendar that wasn't here before. We've got so much going on in the world of darts on top of these extra events that have now been put into the diaries that it becomes very, very tricky. My work I do with Mission Darts, that takes a lot of my time. There's a lot of filming to do in regards to content for Christmas and New Year, both there and on my own channel. I literally could list off the jobs that I need to do, and then the house move on top as well. Doesn't make things easy. I've managed to move things around though, to give me 3 dates, 3 opportunities. I mean, if I can't do it in 3 goes, then I'm not good enough. That's the way I'm going to put this. So the 3 dates in mind: Croatia. There are 4 tournaments in Croatia, 3 bronze and a silver. I can get to that one. We're going. In fact, I'm flying out this Wednesday, so we're going to that. Iceland or Barcelona. Now, I've got a lot of friends within darts, and it was always sort of 50-50 on going to Barcelona just to be with my friends, because they're going to Barcelona to take part in the Catalonia Open, 2 bronze events. Was I going to play in it? I was never sure, but I was going to go along just to be with my friends, you know. And now I look at that, Iceland's just announced the same weekend a silver and a bronze, so I can go there. And I can also go to Hungary in October, which is a gold, a silver and a bronze. So I got 120 points. I've got an opportunity. I can do it. I'm going to have a go for Lakeside and see if I can get there. That's the plan.
This fire that has been relit and the numbers that you're posting, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Let's say you get to Lakeside. Now, we know the training camp module that you're using, but I'm guessing you're the same for Lakeside. There'll be a training camp. You put those numbers in at Lakeside and you win Lakeside, or you have a great run. Does that change Matthew Edgar's plans for 2027?
No. Absolutely not. No. I think 2027 is almost full already. Like, it's very busy times. So, as far as QSchool goes, absolutely off the cards.
I just said 2027.
I know that's what a lot of viewers, I've had that question so many times since Vegas. Like, that is completely off the cards right now. Part of that's to respect the tournaments as well, because the question, what if you just go on the Challenge Tour and you win some, you get some Pro Tour invites? I don't think it looks right, or I don't think it's respectful enough to the event to have someone play one tournament and then commentate on it the next week. Like,
Right, okay, yeah, I get that.
I don't quite like that sort of.
No, I get that.
And sort of from an editorial point of view, I don't think it makes sense to do that. I think you've got to choose one or the other. Doesn't mean that I can't become a Lakeside regular, though. You know, that could be a possibility, where I just go, look, I can have the best of both worlds here. I can pick and choose some WF events. One thing I've proven is I can get myself ready without needing to play regularly. Yes, in the key moment, the real key moment in that final, I lost it. But I've got enough in the tank that I can go and get to Lakeside on a regular basis. I think the numbers I put in probably surprised me at times. You know, we had some 98s, 100s, you know, there was some good stuff in there. And a good sort of baseline of consistency. Anything over 83 I'm always happy with. Means you get 6 visits to the board. That's enough for the WDF and to get those runs and to get to Lakeside. So it could get me to the point where I go, look, I'm going to play Lakeside every year and I'll do some Super Series. But it won't be any more than that at the moment. But I tell you about these lines that I hear all the time. And, you know, when they say everything happens for a reason, they seem to come to me at the right points. And I remember when I was practicing and getting ready for it, and I was trying to get myself in the right mindset. And again, the other quote I heard was, "You'll never be as young as you are in this very moment." And I always think like my body's older than it is because of the things I did.
Yeah.
The MMA, the wrestling, the boxing, the football, everything. Like my body is not the body of a 40-year-old. You know, I've abused it at a very young age to the point where I do hurt, ache, and I've got these issues. But I'm never going to be this young again. And I've always looked at it from the wrong point. I've looked at it from a point of limitation, a point of age, a point of sort of breaking down, rather than going, well, it might be this situation right now, but it's never going to be better than this. So use it and cash it in. And I think while I was in Vegas, the missus said to me, she goes, do you not realise that you're wasting talent here? Like, you know, I've got some friends like my friend Zach, who practices almost every single day and he averages like 55. And he's like, I'd love to average 90 just once. Because and you've turned up like barely playing darts and you're popping these numbers in. And it's like, okay, well, we'll see where it takes us. But it's exciting. That's the thing. It's exciting.
Matchplay.
Yeah.
In the books, and was it one of the greatest tournament displays we've ever seen?
I would love to say it's the greatest tournament display we'll ever see. You know, going forward. You know, I thought when Peter Wright posted those numbers a few years ago, yes, we had the Phil Taylor one previously, but that Peter Wright one stood out because the length of time you need to sustain the performance. But when Phil Taylor was doing it, the amount of legs he played was a little bit lower. Yes, we can debate all sorts of things. The equipment weren't as good, the board wasn't as good, all these sort of things. But I think nowadays, with sort of like the backwards and forwards, the longer formats, the amount of legs that people have to play because you expect to lose more legs, I thought that Peter Wright one was probably the best we'll see for quite some time, and now we've seen that from Luke Littler. It's scary, isn't it? Like, I was convinced that Luke Littler was there. Like, this is his level. And he's got better. Like, how much more can you keep improving? Like, nothing's going to surprise me no more with Luke. And, you know, we look at athletic maturity. Full athletic maturity is around about the age of 21. He's still got a couple of years left before he develops full athletic maturity. And it'll be interesting to see exactly what or where Luke Littler settles as a peak.
The numbers he posted was just ridiculous. Tournament average of 110 at the second biggest ranking event on the calendar. That sends a real statement and a message out to everyone else that you ain't beating me.
Do you know what? Everyone believed it as well. Everyone heard that message. So I did a live watch along. We had just shy of 1,500 people in for that, and I ran a poll. And in that poll, I said, who wins this final? Luke Littler, Gerwyn Price. It was like 92% Luke Littler. Like, the odds compilers was giving like 1 to 20. Gerwyn Price is a world champion. He was averaging 107 and made to look ordinary. Like, how can you average 107 and look like a passenger? But at no point in that final did I ever believe Gerwyn Price was going to win. At no point in that tournament did I ever believe anyone was going to beat Luke Littler. And he was playing against the best players in the world. Where does it, like... I understand why people have this sort of reservation where they go, darts is boring because it's dominated. I love darts being dominated by one person. I've always been a big fan. I've always said you need the man. You need the guy. You need that team or whatever it is at the top. Because if everyone's a champion, who's the real champion? You know, what title means more? Where right now we know who the champion is. We know who the world number one is. We know who the player to beat is. It's Luke Littler. And I kind of sit on the other side of the fence where I go, no, I like this. Yes, Luke losing is the headline, but it is a good headline. Remember in the day, Phil Taylor lost. It wasn't someone's won. It wasn't this person's going to win the tournament. It was Phil Taylor's been beat in this tournament. And that was always the story. And we're back to them days again, which I welcome.
Taylor dominated for decades. MVG dominated for 5-6 years. Are we thinking that Littler can dominate for decades if he wants to?
Great follow-up if he wants to. That's part of it. There's a lot to it, isn't there? There's a lot to it. There's a lot to this other than just turning up and playing darts. I don't know. I've followed Luke Littler since he was very young. Like, he stood out at a very early age. Same way Michell Lawrie does. Like, stood out at a very young age. Beyond this guy's a good player. Like, there was something extra about him. The way he spoke, the way he conducted himself, everything that comes with it. The support network, which is key. It's not just the player, it's everybody around them. And you look at Luke Littler and you look at the family, and it's a family affair. They're all so involved. You need that. You can't be on your own. And I look at that with Michell Lawrie, very similar. How long can he do it for? That's the question. That's such a tough question to answer, because we know that he's missing Pro Tour events. Is there a point where eventually that catches up on you, where I'm not playing enough darts? Like, but then you can counter argument that we're going, well, he did that and won the World Matchplay with ridiculous numbers. It's far too early, and I think this is the thing. We're getting so excited with Luke Littler, and we're getting so blown away with what he's doing that we think it can project him for the next 10 years. 1 year in sport is a very long time. Just think. A little over a year ago, Dimitri Vandenberg was lifting the UK Open title. We're now looking at him losing his tour card. We had Scott Williams reach a semi-final of the World Championships, going, oh, look what he's going to go on and do. He's in a similar position where he's battling at the bottom end of that 64 in regards to keeping his tour card. A year, 2 years is an unbelievable long time in sport that we forget just how many twists and turns along the way. If 1 year ago you said Michael van Gerwen's facing potentially going outside the world's top 16, you'd have been called all sorts of names. But now we're in that situation where we're looking at that being a reality, because 1 year in sport is a ridiculous amount of time. So to try and project 10 years is a conversation for a guy in a pub somewhere who just wants to have a go at it. As an educated sort of punt, I would say he'll be up at the very, very top, but there's so much that can happen between now and then that it's almost impossible to make a prediction like that.
We'll stay on Littler before we come back to the match play. You mentioned the lack of Pro Tours. He's committed to 4 now because the sweep is on. Yeah. Has he left himself too much to do? Look, he's amazing. He's incredible. But only 4 events to secure that magical number for Minehead. That's a lot of pressure.
I don't think he does it. I would love him to. Like I say, I've been a big, big fan of Luke Littler from the very early days. I've loved the progression. I've loved the story. It's been almost like a fairy tale. If he pulls this off, I would say this is one of his greatest achievements, like in the sort of floor capacity, or that developmental sort of phase. Oh, 4 events. He's going to need probably about 30,000, isn't he? That's 2 titles.
The projected cut-off at the moment is somewhere between 32.5 and 33. That can obviously go up or down, but at the moment, the number crunchers that are better at it than me, that's their projected line at the moment.
So 2 titles, 3 finals. It's a lot. I probably should have looked these numbers up exactly beforehand. But in the 2 years Luke Littler's been on tour, he's only won 4 Pro Tour events. And when you look at the amount of events he's gone into, it was less than 25%, I believe, of the amount of tournaments he's played in that he's won, where now he's got to win 50%. So the percentages don't work out well there. He was, again, off the top of my head, I think it's either the same or he's more likely to lose in round 1 than he is to win the title, judged on his previous results. So, judging on those, you worry. But then we've just had a conversation about has he got better? But has he got better not stood in Leicester in a stagnant environment, playing first to 6, put him over a longer format, put him in front of a crowd, no one touches him, as we can see. Put him on board 12...
at the Matoli Arena.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as appealing. So, I'm going to say he doesn't make it, but I really hope he does.
Now, this comment, again, based on this has come up a lot, and this is you. I know you love the commercial side of the game and so on. If he doesn't make it, and he's not the only one that has completely tossed off Pro Tours, that list is getting bigger and bigger, that to the top stars, Pro Tours are absolutely irrelevant now. They don't care about them. Does that cause the PDC an issue with broadcasters, sponsorship and fans that are buying tickets?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially a weekend-long pass like the Players' Championship Finals. Yeah, absolutely. Sponsors want the best players in. The broadcasters want the biggest names in. We deal in social media. We know what numbers are produced in socials when you deal with the biggest names. And absolutely, when you put something like Luke Littler involved in it, the numbers spike. Broadcasters obviously want that. They're putting a lot of money in. So absolutely they do. I feel like the follow-up question to this is going to be around top 16 getting invited into events like these.
I'm going to say, can you see a potential rule change on the horizon towards qualification?
Yes. But I will also put an asterisk in that. I think we're going to see rule changes for most of the events.
That's what I'm not talking about. I'm talking, can you see right, hang on a minute, things need to change here. I'm not just talking about the Players' Championships. I'm talking about, in general, can you see a complete overhaul in qualification criteria to every PDC event?
Yes, other than the Players' Championships. I think we'll see it at all of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Players' Championship gets left out of that. Purely because the Players' Championships is like a Pro Tour final for all those events. I wouldn't like to see a world where someone's getting into that off of a different ranking system while everyone else has got to qualify through the other. So I think the Players' Championship should be left alone, as it is. You've got 64 places. You know, if you can't get in the top 64 out of the 128 places, then don't go. So I can see that one being left. I mean, the other side of this, just sidebarring a little bit, imagine if you've done the whole tour system, you had a great year, you finished 3rd in the rankings, and you end up drawing Luke Littler.
Well, that's the other bit, that surely the ranking... I'm in the camp of, I think the top 16 should be in. I know that'll piss a lot of people off, but like you say, right, the rankings for the Pro Tours are also massively screwed because of the lack of... So when you've got Michael Van Gogh and Nathan Aspinall, Van Veen, Josh Rock, let's just say they just all scrape 64, 63, 60, and so on. Hang on a minute, I've spent all year and I get them. Is that right? Do you know what I mean?
It's weird because, like, I look at it and because I've been a player for so long, I still got that inside me that says I don't like it. Like, you shouldn't be getting a pass straight through while I've got to go and play and qualify.
But you're not a player anymore.
And that's where So this is where I'm probably the hardest one to get a straight answer out on
I
this,
get it.
because I'm so conflicted on it. Because I look at it and go, we need Luke Littler at Minehead. And the school of hard knocks out there will be like, well, he should go and qualify, he should do this. Yes, absolutely he should. But without Luke Littler, Luke Humphries, Van Gerwen and these players, that event isn't as lucrative as it currently is. It doesn't have the broadcast deals that it's got. It doesn't have the sponsorship deals that it's got. It doesn't have the prize money that it's got. And I'm I'm trying to think of the way to get this across, but
It's split everyone, this has.
yeah.
I remember I've interviewed Wayne, Duzza and Mason, and I've asked them the same thing, and they've given different answers.
Well, you've just literally said there, Wayne does people that have played the system and relied on it for income,
Yeah.
the same way I have. We've played on it, relied it for income, so we want that level, fair playing field. But now people that work on the other side of things who also understand the commercial value, and
Yeah.
so it's like you're asking people that have kind of got a very split.
Yeah.
Like, do I look at it from that angle, or do I look at it from this angle? And it's one of those things that I think will happen. Not everyone's going to like it, but crack on with it is kind of the attitude you're going to get with it, essentially. Not from me, but from sort of organisations as such, because they have to, as Wayne rightly said, protect their product. And their product is elite players. You know, people watch darts on TV to watch elite sport. That's what they were looking for. They want to see the best of the best. And they want to see the best of the best compete against each other. You don't want to see these guys compete against each other because Luke Littler decided to sit at home this week. Yes, there's an opportunity, but that opportunity shouldn't be on those biggest... The opportunities on the Pro Tours, the opportunities on the European Tours, on those big TV events, you want those guys in. So I'm kind of giving you both answers here, aren't I? It's a nightmare.
Yeah,
It's a nightmare.
100.
And I can guarantee right now, as I'm saying this, there'll be people in the comments
Oh, completely.
where they completely agree, completely disagree, and they'll be strong, they'll be passionate about their views, and they'll believe what they're saying is right. And do you know what? Whichever side of the fence you sit on that, if you're passionate in your belief on it, I'll say you're correct. Like,
There's no right or wrong answer to this.
there isn't.
It's like, I remember back in the day, and I'm not taking anything away from James Wade here because his career is phenomenal, but I remember back in the day when he used to win titles when someone else beat Phil, he had that stick that he was beaten with saying, yeah, but you never beat Phil to win that. And I feel that, let's say Luke doesn't qualify for Minehead, whoever goes on to wins it, someone will say, yeah, but you only won it because Luke wasn't there. I can see it already. Do you know what I mean?
You'll always get that, my word. I tell you, like, from just my point of view, like, or through conversations with or seeing other people, like, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, so you look at Peter Wright and look what he's achieved and the amount of titles he's won, and you see some of the comments about him. It's ridiculous. Like,
well, his first UK Open, when Michael pulled out with his back injury, people were like, yeah, but you only won on TV because Michael wasn't. And again, that label that you get hit with when the ones that are dominating at the time aren't there.
The one thing I would say, though, is the people that have that opinion, most of the time are kind of irrelevant in their opinion, because they'll have that opinion regardless.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that.
The ones that go, he hasn't won anything, but hang on, he just won a Pro Tour.
Just won a ranking title.
Yeah, that's winning something. Yeah, but he hasn't won a major, and then win a major. Yeah, but that one wasn't ranked, and it's like, but they've only won one. He won't win another. And it's like, you'll just find a way to run it down regardless. So,
whilst we're on this whole subject, obviously we don't know the details of it yet. We've got a new major coming in 2027.
yes.
Just judging on the bits that we've read, and I hope Google translators translated it correctly from German, from the PDC Europe side of it, it looks like it's going to be the UK Open format, but in Germany with their amateur players and so on. We don't know where it's going to land yet. Surely, it has to be in the first half of the year because there's no room in the back end of the calendar. But we were talking about this the other day. The calendar as a whole, is it broken in terms of we've had this calendar for so long and stuff has been added on, we've had more events added on. Is it time where, hang on a minute, the calendar almost needs restructuring to give it a little bit more balance for everyone on tour, like the gaps between big majors and so on, and then the gap towards the end of the season for other players and so on. Do you think that we're almost at the point now where the sport has taken off on this trajectory, like it's like a runaway train, and like the avalanche where it starts as a little snowball and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Does it feel to you as if, right, we've got all these tournaments, here's the calendar, how do we make this better for everyone?
Instantly easy answer, and that's the globalization of darts. Right now, the calendar is the calendar because that's what fits with everything. It's how everything works and puts into place. I do think the calendar will change. I think we'll see that change as the sport globalizes. We now know, since last year, Dave Allen installed in a new role, which is all about globalization of the sport.
Development
and we're seeing a lot of investment. Millions of pounds going into places like Africa. And, you know, we're looking at the development of different countries. I see a world, and within the next 5 years, should we say, where the whole system changes. This is speculation, by the way. Speculation through an educated guess. I would say in the future we're going to see tour cards given to the Asian tour. We're going to see tour cards in Africa. We're going to see tour cards on the CDC.
I like it.
Especially now that it's moving into Canada as well. I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see pro tours go global, very similar to like we've seen in the past. When I first started on the PDC, there was a pro tour in Australia, there was a pro tour in Canada, there was pro tours all around the world. Then it centralised, then it gone into Europe a little bit. It went England, Germany, now it's England, Germany, Holland. I wouldn't be surprised if we see developments in Belgium. I wouldn't be surprised if we see developments in France for potential pro tours. Off the back of that, I think we're then going to see pro tours hit America again. And I think we'll see that alongside Madison Square Garden, where the weekend before you come across, there's going to be pro tours in the week, then it's the World Series at the weekend, something along those sort of lines. I wouldn't be surprised to see a major event hit America, something that maybe lost identity a bit, like the World Grand Prix.
That was the one we've had this conversation in the live lounge last week, and that was instantly the one, the Slam and the Grand Prix are the two that stand out instantly that I think could go global.
Go to America. The ESPN deal is probably the biggest thing since Sky Sports for darts. It could be huge. That is a massive audience that are going to get mainstream broadcasted darts to. And if it works, they're going to want to host something. America want to host. And the first thing I can see, World Grand Prix, go over there. So I think there's going to be a lot of globalization of darts, which I think will force the calendar to change. I think it will force the system to change. And I think the system's going to become very, very global, where we're going to see a lot of other... But I know straight away, reservations, people are going to think it was the other side. Surely if someone gets a tour card in America, how are they going to afford to come over or travel all the time? I think the tour card could also come with a prize fund at sometimes, where you get a 2-year tour card and £10,000 to get you started or something along those sort of lines.
Like that.
I can see that coming with the globalisation. So, and then once you're on the tour, make your own money to pay for the rest. But you've got £10,000 to get you started, make the decisions you want to make. I think that's when your question will be answered. I think nothing will change for now, but this German major, I think, is the first real sort of... We see it with the World Series, don't we? It's sort of, we'll give you a World Series, we'll give you a Euro Tour. That seems to be the model and the system. And with the millions they're putting in, there's no way they're going to not want to... Why do you want to develop these players and give these players systems and give them all these opportunities and get... Especially in Asia, my word, are they putting in some good numbers. What's the point in having all these players there if we're not going to pull them on the tour? And right now, do we have the best 128 players in the world? No. Not even close. Not even close. Because there's 10 players in Asia that should be on the Pro Tour. They've just not got the opportunity to do so unless they relocate here at the moment. So it's going to globalise. It is. We know what Barry Hearn's like. He doesn't want small fry. He wants the biggest fish. And that's the way to do it.
Just picking this back up, folks. It's a bit hot in here, Matt, today, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's warm, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's why I love Vegas so much. Everything was so aircon.
Yeah, look, going back to this, I like your thought on the globalisation thing, and I agree. I think it will happen. going back to the match play, full of drama, full of incident and so on, like we'd expect. Gary Anderson not playing any dance, rocking up, average 110 in round 1, and then not doing any media because he was in one of those moods for the week. And I remember we did that interview this time last year after the match play, after there was some interesting bits, shall we say, and then Dirk having a go. Had everything.
Yeah, like, I like the stories as much as I like the darts, as much as I like the sort of competitive side. I love the stories and the drama and everything that goes with it. And I think we had a lot of that. I really do think we had a lot of that. I think we had a reminder of how good the top 16 are, because I think some players maybe got dismissed a little, like Ross Smith against Kevin Doots. You know, I myself looked at Kevin Doots and thought he'd win this game. Like, Kevin Doots playing well. But we got a reminder that there is a difference between Pro Tour, Euro Tour, and these big major events. And I think sometimes people like to put a marker down. Don't remember Joe Cullen?
Wessel. Don't write me off.
Yeah, he's done it a few times. Corey Cadby, Joe Cullen, Wessel Nyman. Like, there's been a few instances. So I think there's a lot of stories and a lot of things we can take from the match play. There's a lot of takeaways. It was... I know in sort of short term you can look at things and go, well, was it the best like we've had? And we'll always go, yes, because recency bias kicks in. I think that one will be one to be remembered.
I completely agree that it had absolutely everything that you'd want from a tournament. Like you say, the top 16 are just ridiculous. The numbers that we saw, the Aspinall game against Littler, one of the games of the tournament, Going Price returning to form. Does this set the marker down for the rest of the season?
Yeah, and it's interesting you picked out those two players as well, because I think there's a very interesting point to make with those, in the fact that it felt like they was the two players that went up against Luke Littler and went up against him and really didn't care about reputation. I'm not saying they definitely are doing this. It's just that vibe you get, that some people go up there and it feels like the game's done before it started. With those two, I didn't get that vibe.
Well, I don't know if you saw it, the Gezi interview where he said opponents make it too easy for him. That was the exact words, but he was like, look, I might lose, but I'm going to give it everything. But people give it to him easy.
Let's go back to the very start of this when I talked about Lakeside. And I've talked about this before, remember how honest I was in that, where I almost wanted a tough draw because if it weren't going right, they'd get me off the stage. And I didn't want like an easy draw in case like he got drawn into a bit of it. I didn't want to be up there doing that. So it was like, it's the same thing. It's easier sometimes to just accept defeat so you're not disappointed. Well, Gerwin Price commits to it, and if he doesn't get the result, then I'm disappointed. I'm okay with living with that disappointment for a few hours. We get to a point where we start protecting ourselves from that. I'll go back years ago. Like, people used to pack the bags when they drew Phil Taylor. I remember Adrian Gray packed his bags in the World Grand Prix.
I remember.
And he had to book hotels and change everything because he was playing Taylor, so he was off
Flight
home.
was booked.
Yeah, and then he beat Taylor. It's like, oh, I have to unpack. I have to get a hotel room. He wasn't the only one who did that. That happened a lot.
He just got caught.
Yeah, he's the story we talk about because he was the one who got the result. That happened a lot. I almost feel like we're getting back to that point a little bit where it's like, oh, I'm playing Luke Littler on Sunday night, so I'll only book my hotel till Monday. There's no point in booking the whole week. I'll deal with that if I get through that game. Well, you've already lost. You've already lost because you've already entertained the idea that I might not win this. I remember doing some work with a very, very good sports psychologist, and we was having a chat, and I was going to a European tour, and he says to me, he goes, how do you feel about this game? I said, great, actually, I've never lost to him. And he was like, sit down. I sat down. And he goes, why are you trying to blag me? And I'm like, no, I'm in a good place. Like, and he's like, no, you're blagging me. Whether you realise it or not, you're blagging me. He goes, because you've said you've never lost to this person before, so you're coming from a position of defeat.
Not, I always beat this guy.
I always beat him, yeah. He says, if you say I always beat him, because you're coming from a position of power and a position of strength and a position of positivity. He goes, so you're trying to say something positive, but negatively. And he goes, you've got to change that. He goes, if you're going to be positive, be positive. And we did some work, and it was like, wow, what an eye-opening sort of session that was. And you see a lot of that. Like I watched that. I've studied sports psychology quite intently. I got qualified in sports psychology myself, and I watch interviews at times, and you watch them, and I look for the things they're not saying rather than things they are saying. Like, what are you subconsciously telling me behind your words? Because, I mean, you sit behind the camera. You know the conversation that happens off the camera, and you know the conversation that happens when you press record.
It's like a flick of the switch.
It's different, yeah. So I try and work out what the conversation was like before the cameras was turned on.
I like that. Just looking at, we touched on Scott Williams earlier and Dimitri Vandenberg, that looking at that rankings, as I'm sure you have, £107,000 may not be enough to keep your card. Now, that's one, ridiculous, but two, does that also give us an indication on how big a swing the New World's money has now had?
So, first of all, £107,000 might not keep your card is amazing news. It's amazing news. That means you can earn over £50,000 a year and still not be in the top 64, which is highlighting the money that's available now for being in the top 64 in the world. So, fantastic. You know, within my timeline of not going back too far, although I'm terrible for this, like, I still think, like, Mega Drive is retro, where PS2 is retro now.
Yeah.
You know, like, so, you know, I remember the World Championship being 50,000. Now that's what you get in a year, and it's still not enough just to have a tour card. Never mind be world champion. So that's amazing in itself. It's win percentages, though. Like, I think sometimes we look at the money and we think, oh, the money's going up. It's going up. You need to do more. You need to do more. But the win percentage doesn't change. Just the value changes. So it's still kind of the same win or losing in regards to that. Yes, the World Championship can be a bit weighted, but that's more higher up than around that sort of 64 position. It's always been the case. If you don't make the Worlds on Minehead, you're probably going to lose your card. That's always been the case. It still is the case now, maybe more so than ever. But I don't think the World's has much indication in regards to that tour card. It's the win percentage over a year, and make sure you're in it.
The players that could lose their card, the names that could lose their card, it feels like a real changing of the guard here. That I look at the players that have been established on the tour for so long that will probably keep their card this year, your Brendan Dolans and so on, that are edging ever so closer to that trapdoor. This feels like in the next 2 to 3 years, this is a real swing for the sport.
Well, when you look at the likes of Charlie Manby, Bo Greaves, who are to the standard of the top 64, if they're going to go in there, someone has to come out. It's only 64 places. Just because we've now got 100 people that can meet the standard, there's still only 64 places. So what that does is it filters it down, so the system and the Challenge Tour becomes stronger, and you know these other systems need more opportunity because they're starting to get that level and that sort of standard in there. So that's interesting. We are going to see a change in the guard. We tend to see it every sort of 2 years. Like every couple of years, it's like a big switch around of personnel. I think for some people it'll be for the good. I think for some people it'll probably be the end of the road in regards to a professional career. But what they should be doing is looking at inspiring stories. Dimitri Vandenberg can look at the likes of Nathan Aspinall, Ross Smith, Cristo Reyes, people that have come off the tour and come back better. Dimitri Vandenberg could do that. Go learn to win. You can look the likes of Brendan Dolan you mentioned there. He can look at Kim Huybrechts, who this year you went, he's knocking on the door of the match play, or he could lose his card. It was that crossroads for Kim Huybrechts, and I would say Kim Huybrechts is now playing the best starts of his career, arguably. So there's stories everywhere, like where it goes one way or the other. A lot of the time we can fear, we can dread, we can look over our shoulder, we can look, oh, I might lose this, I might lose that. But the likes of Kim Huybrechts look forwards, and that's the answer. Look forwards. Dimitri Vandenberg, if he lost his card, look forward. What does that journey look? He's still young. Still got lots of years. Okay, that wasn't my career. That was that part of it. What's ahead? You'll never be as young as you are today.
But I want to pick up what you said there about the standard being better lower down, which I completely agree with. Do we, I say we, as a darts thing, do the secondary tours need to be better in terms of more love, more professional? Where at the moment the Challenge Tour is a survival of the fittest. It's not about who's the best, it's who's fit enough to play for 14, 15 hours a day. So does the structure and the love on the supplementary tours now need to be better?
Yes. So, very simple answer is yes. With that in mind, we've got a system that doesn't replicate the main tour. I know that's not what it's advertised as. It's advertised basically as, if you go to QSchool, or here's somewhere to learn, to develop, to grow, to play darts. I'd like to see it now replicate the Pro Tour, get people ready for it. I think it should be 128 players maximum on the Challenge Tour. If you lose your tour card, you're one of those people that are guaranteed to Challenge Tour, and then potentially the players that makes Phase 2. If you go out in Phase 1 of QSchool, yes, it's harsh. Yes, it might just give you a couple of bad days, but you're not going on the Challenge Tour. Unless we need top-ups, and we'll use that as top-ups.
Yeah, no, I don't dislike it.
I'd like to see 128. Rather than 2 a day, just combine them into one. Have one tournament for 2 tournaments prize money, so it doesn't take any further investment in regards to that. Yes, it's less tournaments, but certainly from my point of view, this is me being selfish again from a player's angle, I would rather turn up and play 1 tournament for double the prize money than play 2 for that 1. And I think there'll be a lot of people who play that system agree. I think the ones that don't agree are the ones that aren't there for the right reasons. It's the same when you go to a WDF tournament and go, we want a round robin because we want to play more matches. Well, you're not here to try and win the tournament. You're here to
have a bit of a jolly up.
Yeah, you just want to play darts, which is fine. It's great. You can play darts, but
there's places to go and do that.
Don't affect the ranking side and the thing we're here for, which is the title. And those players that go, no, I want to play more games. I want to have more opportunity. I want to do it. It's like, well, actually, what you're probably doing is you're probably going to see how I get on. I want to give it a go. You're not going there to go, right, I want those Pro Tour spaces. I want that World Championship spot. I want those tour cards that are on offer. I want that Grand Slam spot. There's a lot of prizes that are on that tour. It's not like go play county. If you want to play lots of games, go play county. Go play some ABC.
After this weekend, that's not well advised.
Go play the ADC. Go play some vaults.
Yeah.
If you want lots of games, go do it somewhere else. But there's this weird sort of philosophy at the moment where you see a lot of the time where people go, oh, the PDC need to do something about that. The PDC need to do something about that. There's organisations out there for Darts for All. That's not what the PDC is about. It's about professionals. It's about people that want to be elite. It's about people that want to be the best. So that developmental system has to eventually become that.
Giveaways in the name, isn't it? The Professional Darts Corporation.
Yes, it's literally in the title. Where the ADC, the Amateur Darts Corporation, it's literally there. But I think sometimes you can get a bit guilty of getting drawn in to try and make it about everybody. The PDC is not for everybody.
Something happened in the match play which was really unprecedented. And again, you probably got 2 looks on this, which I'm quite actually happy about for a change. Cameron Menzies, Ross Smith, obviously early on in the game, Cameron Menzies was taken ill, and quite ill at the time as well. His blood pressure rocketed to 240. I'm no medical expert, but I know that's not good.
That's not good, yeah.
Now, obviously, he wasn't in a fit state to carry on.
Yeah.
Now, unprecedented. We haven't seen like that before, and Ross Smith was awarded the walkover, and he went through. When something like that medically happens, do you think there could be, or should be, or definitely not, a protocol where that game can be continued the next night if Cameron Menzies is in a, I'm using Cammy's name, but it could be anyone. Yeah. If the player is in a fit enough condition to carry on, should that be an option, or are you happy, or the way it is, it's blunt, he can't carry on, so it's done?
Oh, if that was me in that situation, I'd like to think that I'd have the opportunity to play the game. But on the same aspect, where do you find that broadcasting? The broadcasting time slots and allocations.
That's why I said there's no easy art, and I understand it's tough.
I've done well in event. And then the other thing is, what happens if the quarter-final scheduled for the next day, do you then have to play your second round and come back out later to again play the quarter-final? Like, do 2 matches in a night? So I understand the decision. The decision was the right decision to make.
I don't disagree. It's interesting to see the thought process, because we've never really seen it before. No,
absolutely. It was the right call, because the other thing is, you put him back out there. Are you then putting him at risk?
Yeah.
Because you don't have all of it. Like, you know, we're looking at health scares quite differently as things go forward. You know, head injuries in football change quite drastically. The rules around that. I think with that, if someone's had to leave the stage for medical reasons, there should be a window of time of which they can come back. And if they don't hit that window of time, which appears to be the case that's kind of happened here, then absolutely, you've then got to push to the point of going, if this is something that's lasted 15, 20 minutes, are we putting him at risk to put him back out there in that environment again? That's a snap decision you got to make at the time. And yeah, I think how it worked was harsh, but I think everyone would say it was the right decision.
Well, the decision was taken out of his hands, because he was like, I'll go back, and it was taken out of his hands. No, you're not in a fit state to go and compete. Like, it's not like a boxer or anything like that. They're always going to want to go back out and stuff, which I get. It's your living. It's what you want to do. You don't want to let people down and so on. And I get it.
The decision has to be taken out of your hands. It absolutely has to. You mentioned a boxer, absolutely. We see them get knocked down and they get up and they're all over the place. Oh, I'll carry on. And it's like, you can't stand up, mate. Like,
you're 100%.
What do you think you're going to do? You're going to go over there, you're going to get smacked again. You're going to get in a worse position. So this is stopping for your benefit. And exactly that. Like, I've got no doubt that Menzies would have wanted to go back out there again. But for his own well-being and safety, I think the right decision was made. Now, kind of leads me to something you haven't even asked yet. Wouldn't that be a good thing to spend that £1.5 million on?
Well, funny you should say that, because this was going to come up, obviously. Something you said earlier, you like reading between the lines and what players said and what they didn't say. I know you've listened to Glenn's interview when he resigned, and I pulled him up on it. It was what he didn't say. And I know, look, Glenn's no, I'm a professional, and we're not putting words in his mouth. He hasn't said this, but we're reading between the lines like we do. There is clearly a fractured relationship within that body that is meant to be serving the players, because he praised everyone else apart from one person. I worked with him to the best I could, and so on. That's not good for the players when there is clearly an issue. What that issue is, we can't speculate, because no one has said, but there is clearly an issue.
But there was an invitation. And I'd be keen to know which players have took up that invitation. Because you asked Glenn, you said, what about this money? It's been looked after, the players don't want to hear that. That was the sort of conversation you had. And you talked about the 1.5. And Glenn talked about short-term hits and all these things that they could spend it on. And he threw it back to the players. And he said, over to you. What do you want it to be spent on? He literally sat on socials and gave you an invitation to say, put forward your argument of what you want to be. I wouldn't be surprised if we have 0 responses in regards to...
One at tops.
Yeah, in regards to that. So I would say the relationship is a two-way thing. If a relationship breaks down, it's not one side. It's always a two-way street. But I would like to, and I've said this before, and I will advocate for it, we are now in a world with repetitive strain injuries, with demands on dart players, that I would like to see more medical professionals involved in the sport, where we have a first aider or a chiro or something at every single Pro Tour event, and somewhere that players can go to, that, and this is the key, that understand darts. I have worked and bounced between professionals who are physiotherapists, massagers, chiros. I've bounced between so many of them because they understand certain things, but they're not experts in darts.
They understand the body, but not how the body works in darts.
Exactly that. The repetitive strain injuries for darts are not heavily researched. So where does it stem from? A lot of the time injuries aren't where they cite, it's something deeper lying where it comes from. And the amount of people I had to see till I found someone who understood darts or understood what I was going through fully. But because most people have issues with necks, backs, knees, so that's kind of where their expertise is. It's far too broad to understand. So I would like to see that side of things, some proper, trained, well-educated health professionals who understand the impacts of darts on the body. Because I remember when I found the guy who sort of got me to the best fix of my possibility, he was even talking about, like, so he was watching me throw darts, and he was like, you're prone to hitting fives, which I absolutely am. It was always my drift. And he goes, the reason you're doing that is because you've got tight hamstrings. That's someone who understands the body properly. And he says, you've got tight hamstrings, which what that's going to do is going to pull and rotate the pelvis slightly, so it's going to force you to push over to the left. So he gave me some exercises to do so I could throw straighter darts by lengthening the hamstring so it didn't rotate my pelvis. And then it was a case of, right, now you need to go to the chiro to realign your pelvis and things. You'll start throwing straighter darts. And it's like that level of knowledge needs to be pulled out and used a little bit more.
Well, you probably won't like what I'm going to say then, because obviously Nathan Aspinall suggested that last year, was one of many that would like to have seen it, and a member of the PDPA actually stopped me and went, we looked into what Nathan said, too expensive, so we're not doing it.
Okay.
That was the response.
Yeah.
And I remember it well, because they stopped me in Rotterdam and the Ahoy car park as I was walking in. So they can argue all they want, but I can remember the time, the place when that was said.
Okay. Disappointing, but what I will also say is Nathan Aspinall said that. That's one person. One person puts a suggestion. I understand when they might say it's expensive if they think that's one person saying it. What if all 128 people had a different thing to say? If 64 people said it, if 65 people said it, now we've got a majority vote. Now we have to make it happen. The majority of our members want it to happen. So what I would say is, with that in mind, maybe the answer here is not decisions being made for players, but decisions being handed to players. We've had this suggestion.
Yeah.
This is the cost. We want a vote this week on this. Just click yes or no on the app or on whatever link we're going to send you. Just go on, click.
Keeps over here, so we've just done. But yeah, I like your point about giving it to the players. And also, Vincent said it on his podcast, and I agree. I think there should be a players' rep in the PDPA.
Yes. We've got an ideal world. We've got the real world. Like,
yeah, I get it.
In the it's one of those where, yes, I fully agree. There should be, but who's going to do it? Like,
someone would do it. When you look at the 120, I bet there was someone that would go, I actually quite fancy that.
In the defence of the PDPA, I was in the system when they've tried putting these meetings in.
And no one turns up.
Yeah, and there's like 5 people there. Like, everyone, yeah, I'll go. Like, 5 people turn up. Like, oh, we're going to do this meeting. We're going to introduce you to this accountant. We're going to introduce you to this person. No one shows. During COVID, they did these like coffee mornings things, and again, hardly anyone attended it. So, in their defence, a little bit, I go back to the point: relationships break down for 2 ways. Everyone wants to sit and point things at the PDPA. I do it myself at times, but I also understand that they can only deal with what they're given, and if all that money's in the bank and it's there to be spent on the players and what they want it to do. Glenn's absolutely right. What do you want with it? Like, that's a long-term sustainable fact. You know, is it too expensive to put a medical professional in? Well, how long would it last? Could we have a medical professional for 10 years off the back of this? Yeah, absolutely. So
100%.
Yeah. So I'd like to know what, because this is the problem. We speculate. We're just guessing. We're just guessing, and we're just guessing off what we see and what we hear. But I would love to know more from the players at different ranking positions, what they'd expect. But I don't see how anyone could refuse a medical professional, because injuries are happening so often, and just having somewhere to go, 100%. Even if it's a base in Nottingham somewhere, so it's centrally located in the UK, we've got one in Europe, and you can go and visit that if you need to, or you can have a video call, or you can do different bits. Or it might even be somewhere that's got a chain, so they've got multiple locations. Yeah. They're always available at Pro Tours, you know, just so you can go and have those sort of consultations. Sometimes it's not what they actually physically have to do, it's the guidance you can do.
Yeah.
You can stop things before they happen. That, whether it happens now or in the future, it's got to happen. Got to.
World Series kicks off next week, the down under leg. A lot of the top stars missing. Does this devalue these two World Series events when the top players aren't there, or is it great that someone else is getting an opportunity, or a bit of both?
I'm going to put on my media hat now. And with that in mind, the World Series is all about opportunity.
Yeah.
That's what it's sold on. The World Series isn't always sold on elite darts and the elite players. It's sold on the opportunities. The opportunity presenting of these local players playing against the PDC stars. And we're seeing that. We're seeing these top PDC stars going against a local talent, an opportunity there to qualify for a major event a bit later on in the year. So I would say more so than ever, the unique selling factor of the World Series, opportunity, has just gone up a level. We know the broadcast is a bit higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah.
Because time zones and things, and you watch things back on replay, a lot of times you end up finding the results out before you see the darts. So I don't see an issue broadcasting-wise. It's kind of never been fully committed to in that sense. So I actually quite like it for the World Series, that we're seeing rewards for the players that have been performing consistently.
I'm going to throw it, and I agree with that point, but for the fan that only gets darts once a year, is it shortchanging them that we haven't got Luke, or MVG, like probably the three what you call massive headliners? None of them are there this year.
Yeah, it's got to be disappointing, because, you know, you're hoping to see the best, but again, I go back to that opportunity fact. You know, when you've got your localised players, the first round, you tend to find is all about how many of them can we beat, how many legs can we take off them, how many of this can we do. The story doesn't tend to be that. It tends to be like from the second round. So yeah, that's where the disappointment may kick in a little bit, but I think it's more the direction we go in darts, where there are more than one star player now. There's more than 2 star players, and you go down a little bit further, you're still going to get a great show. Are you getting the superstars? No, but will it affect the event? I think it'll be very well received.
Oh no, I fully agree. It's just an interesting, again, topic to bring up.
I get it, and especially, and this is where I might sound quite, what's the word, hypocritical, because I've been quite critical of the players pulling out of European tours, and when I've covered European tours, and I've gone, and you walk into the building, and you see all the posters, and it's like, none of these players are here. Like, I'm looking at the poster, and none of them are here, and I've been quite critical of that, but I see it different when it's not ranked compared to ranked. I see it. I look at it very differently, because when it's ranked, it's about elite darts. It's about the rankings. It's about the qualification systems and everything that comes with it. When it's the World Series, I find it's a different selling point, which is opportunity.
Well, on that then, how do we solve the issue of getting the top players to more Euro Tours?
I actually fear it might go the other way.
What, they'll pull out more?
Yeah. I think we could see a world where we see less big names in European tours. Prize money. I think that's the only way you get them. Like, because they've got everything else. You've got the buy. You've got the guaranteed seeding. You don't have to qualify. You've got it literally on the plate there. Turn up, win one game. What is it? £5,000? Like, 4,000. Like, it's there. You've got everything you possibly want in that aspect. You've got broadcasting. You've got opportunity for your sponsorships. You know, does the sponsors want them at European tours because it's streamed and broadcasted in different countries. So it's got everything. You've got a crowd. You've got everything you could possibly want. But for some reason, an exhibition in Bradford seems more appealing sometimes. So why? That would be mine. I haven't figured that bit out.
I guess hardcore cash and no travelling to Germany.
Yeah.
Is the brutal honesty. I would guess. I remember I spoke to Gary. I can't remember, April time maybe, and I was like, "We're going to see you on the European tour again." He's like, "I don't know." He was like, "When you go to Poland and it takes you 3 hours, stood there to get through passport control," and we've seen it. A lot of players moan on social about how long it takes to get through passport, where they've got a 2-hour flight and then they're sat there for 3 hours. Bradford does look a lot more appealing.
With that in mind, we was flying. We've just come back from Germany, and there was a hotel. Was it Maritime Hotel?
Right, yeah.
Where they used to have the European Championships.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's literally, you can see it outside outside the airport.
Dusseldorf.
Oh, I can't remember where it was.
I remember there was a European tour at Dusseldorf when certain players just used to book a return flight the same day, flying at 6 a.m. and be on the 6 p.m. home.
Maybe with that in mind, what would appeal to the players is maybe a bit of planning around travel. And I think this needs to be considered quite a bit in all aspects. Like there's some tours, I think it's Risa, that's a pain to get to. But like Hildesheim's not from the UK, unless you go to Heathrow.
The Northern guys hate Hildesheim because it's a pool lake.
Well, Chris Dobie and Callum Ridds was on our flight out of Heathrow because it was easier for them to come from Newcastle to Heathrow to then fly out of Heathrow than go in from direct, because they'd had gone to Schiphol and through. There was... Who was it? It was on the flight ahead of us. Oh, why can't... It doesn't matter who it was. But there was 3 players who went on a flight and they had a 7-hour layover in Schiphol, to the point where the overall day took them 13 hours to get even landed before they get an Uber then to Hildesheim, which is another hour. So maybe a little bit more convenience in that side.
Cities and towns that are closer to major airports.
Yeah. And I know what's going to happen now. People will be like, yeah, but what about when they come to England? But there's, in England, like Wigan's near Manchester. Like,
well, you look where the Pro Tools are. Wigan, I say Manchester, 45, 50 minutes. At worst, Liverpool, an hour and a half. Leicester, Birmingham, an hour.
If that. East Midlands.
East Midlands, that's one I can't think of. Not far. Milton Keynes, Luton and Stansted.
Heathrow.
So
Gatwick.
They are... where the Pro Tours are actually are quite well located to airports.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But again, no, actually, it's not. I'm going to say that's that selfish side kicking in. That I don't like. The travel's a pain in the backside, but that's not selfish side. That's just proper organisation.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Premier League.
Yep.
Changes next year, do you feel, or do you think we're going to have another year of, I'm going to say it, this shite format?
I think the format worked the best this year than it ever has. And I think that comes down to the way the story's developed. Like Van Veen starting strong, Luke Littler not starting strong, Luke Humphries coming on strong and late at the end. I think the format worked well this year. But does it work well every year? Probably not. No. I do think we'll see change. I think we'll see expansion. I won't be surprised to see 10 players. I think that's the next step. I think we'll get... I've seen it floating around a few times about a hybrid league. And I think that's what we'll probably most likely get.
Relegate 2 after 9 weeks.
And go to what we've got now.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Again, I'm still not a fan, but it's better than than what we're getting at the moment, I think.
Yeah. And I get it as well, because in the past, going any more than 8 players, would you have watered it down? probably.
I still think for the last 5 years there's an argument that you could have picked 10 good players.
Yeah. But would you have 10 people that could potentially win it? Or are you just filling slots?
I think you're just filling slots now anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think that changes. Even let's say next year, I probably think there's only 2, 3 maybe that could win it. So you're still filling 7 spots. Are they going to be competitive on a given night? 100%. Are they going to be competitive enough over 16 weeks and then a longer format on finals night to beat Luke and Luke?
You've got a disruptor in there, in the likes of Wessel. Like,
well, I'm going
he
to come
can hit some numbers. Like,
does he get picked? As in, we all know Wessel's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's world number, I think, 8 or 9 provisionally without a run on TV. But let's just say, devil's advocate here, that between now and the end of the season, he loses in round 2 or 3 of every major.
No, absolutely not.
But he's still going to be world number 8.
Yeah.
When you're picking 10 players, can you justify picking him without a quarterfinal on TV?
No, you can't. You absolutely can't. The ranking is one thing, the Premier League's another. Like, I'm a big fan of Nyman. If he doesn't have a run, you can't put him in. You can't. It's impossible. You can't just go, because he's won all these Pro Tours and European Tours, because there's asterisks on a lot of that. We've seen that form not translate. You know, Luke Humphries was struggling in the Premier League whilst doing very well on the Euro. He won the European Tour and he'd lose in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, we see the form not translate across. So, would I like Nyman in? 100%. Do I think he adds to the Premier League? 100%. Does he need to do something at the back end of the year? Absolutely. Like, he's not in right now. He's not. But he's on the shortlist.
Yeah, no, I agree that I think I'd have him in. Right, if you're asking me to pick a Premier League, right, a 10-man Premier League, would I include him now? I would.
Yes.
Right now, if you're asking me, yeah, I'd pick him.
But that's probably because you believe he's going to go and do something.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think I'm not disagreeing that. Like, I don't see him losing early in every TV tournament. He's too good.
Yeah.
Which is the way you look at it, I think. But it's just like you say, it'll be interesting to see what happens come the back end of the season in these tournaments and so on. World Championship, we're going to obviously go to the Great Hall, which can't wait to see how they're going to do it and so on. But some big names in danger of missing the World Championship, so it could have a very different feel to it.
There absolutely is, and you know the World Championship, I think, is another thing that's evolving. You know, we look over last year, how many of the sort of international qualifiers really stood up and produced. It's always those Asian players, isn't it? That's a great tour, great system, but it's at that point you miss the World Championships, you're in big trouble. You really are in big trouble, because so many. It's not so much the prize money gone up; it's the amount of people that are now in it. And
yeah.
I'm going to put this out there and say that out of 128 tour card holders, 40 from one order of merit, 40 from the other. Some of them have also got other routes of qualifying through development tours.
I think last year there was 84. Someone will see in the comments, but I think it was around the 84 mark out of the 128 were tour card holders.
Exactly. You know, So 84, this is where my quick maths isn't going to work out for me. So we've got what? 44 players, is it?
Yeah.
44 players with tour cards didn't make the World Championships.
Out of 128, you can only blame yourself for that.
You don't deserve a tour card.
You can only blame yourself.
Yeah. You don't deserve a tour card if you're not making the top 84 of that season. So anyone without a tour card who isn't making the World Championships, you've got what you deserve. Like, there's no way. Well, obviously there is a way, because there's 44 people that don't make it. But there's no way you should ever be. If
you're of a good enough standard, you're not going to miss, are you?
No, you'll find a way in somehow. Like, whether it's a qualifier, whether it's whatever it is, and even then, Like last year, we had like extended positions in regards to the tour card holder qualifier. And
because places went back to them that weren't taken from elsewhere and so on.
Yeah, and you've already took out the best 40 players in the world. You took out the best 40 players over a year. You took out all your regional and youth development system, all these other qualifiers, and then you're left with this, and you've still got a couple of chances to qualify. Like, you can't give any more opportunity. I heard a conversation amongst a couple of players recently. I won't name them because it was the most ridiculous conversation I have ever heard in my life.
Ridiculous conversation?
Yes. There's your headline. The most ridiculous conversation I've ever heard in my life. Because it was. And the suggestion was all tour card holders should instantly put in the World Championship. Phil's wincing, by the way, guys, if you can't see right now. You can imagine that was from one of those 44 players.
I would say it was from one of the ones that haven't qualified or isn't going to qualify.
You've got the UK Open. You've got all the European Tour qualifiers. You've got 34 Players' Championship events. You've got the Masters. You know, what more do you want? You might get this German event that's coming up. The tour card, you've got the World Championship qualifier. You've got so much for having a tour card. Why should you be given a spot in the World Championship? And they're like, well, we're the best 128 players in the world.
Bollocks.
Yeah. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Because we've seen amazing players come from America. We've seen them come from the Asian tour.
I'm just going to throw one out there now. Derek Coulson, there isn't 128 players better than Derek Coulson right now.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You look at some of the players that have come over as well from Asia, like quality. Man
Lockling Lee, just two from the two Hong Kong boys are incredible.
Yeah. CDC pumping out talent. You know, they're not the best 128 players in the world. But I suppose the system says they are in a sense, but we know it's not that way. And to make that suggestion, just that they should be given the spots over these other systems, like that's what we deal with at times. So
before we let you go, you mentioned a name earlier, and we've been doing some comparisons, and I know we shouldn't, but we can't help it. It's what we do. Michell Lawrie.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying he is going to go on and do what Luke Littler has done, because not many do. It's a generational talent. However, when you compare Mitchell's numbers to Luke's at the same age,
yes,
Mitchell's numbers are better than what Luke's were at that given time. Are you excited by this ridiculous Scottish talent we potentially got coming through?
I've done exactly the same sort of comparisons, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of results. I looked at Luke Littler's Lakeside. I've looked at Michell Lawrie's Lakeside. I've looked at the titles they've won. I've looked at how they've done it, how they performed, who they've beaten, like their rankings. You're absolutely right. At this stage of their career, Michell Lawrie is better. But to do what Luke Littler's done isn't just about what you do on the dartboard.
Oh, correct.
It's about the mental side, the approach. Now, I've mentioned already that Michell Lawrie's got a good team around him, the same way Luke Littler has. Positive, great. So that's another tick. But does he have... There's so much you need, that commitment, that desire, that winning mentality, that sort of unwavered confidence. Does he have that? I don't know. I've not spent enough time with Michell Lawrie to be able to answer that. So it'd be guessing.
Unwavered confidence, I can categorically say yes.
Right, okay. That's good to hear. Because that's what you need. Especially to go in, like we hear it all the time, don't we? And you interview people and they'll go, oh, it's so good. I walked into the Pro Tour and here's all these stars that I've watched on TV for all these years. He needs to go in that room and be like, these are now opponents. They're not people I look up to. These are people I need to beat. And if he's got that, then absolutely he can go far. But he's on the conveyor belt of loads. Like, look at how many are coming through. Like there's so many. Kea Basil, doing some good stuff. Archie Self, another one doing some good numbers. You know, there's so many coming through right now that I was actually in a steakhouse very recently, and I heard a conversation with a top 16 player in the world right now, who suggested the players that are here to beat Luke Littler aren't here yet.
I don't potentially disagree with that.
Yeah. The ones that are going to rival him aren't on the tour right now. The ones that are going to rival him
Are these ones that have been inspired by him?
Yeah, they're the ones that are close.
Well,
the ones we've mentioned.
There was a line that Michell gave at 15 years old which stuck with me. He was said, "Oh, you're being dubbed the next Luke Littler." And he's a 15-year-old, as calm and as mature as you like. I'm going to stop you there. I'm not the next Luke Littler. I'm the next Michell Lawrie. Which, that stuck with me. At 15 years old, to have that self-belief in himself.
That's confidence.
100%.
Yeah, that is confidence. And it's just... what does that look like?
Scary if he lives up to it.
Yeah. What does the first Michell Lawrie look like? Because Luke Littler has been sold on being a generational talent, being this guy who's putting in all these amazing numbers. What does it look like that's slightly different? What's that unique factor? That's the exciting bit. Like, we look at Henry Coates, another young player, just won a Pro Tour, who looked unwavered in his confidence and his ability. Very quiet, very reserved. You're not going to see him do his heel turn at the World Championship like
we
we've
love a
seen.
heel turn.
You know, very, very different in his approach and very endearing. There's going to be a lot of people get drawn to his style of play. Then you look at some of the other young players coming through, especially when you watch like the JDC, they're screaming and roaring like they're like, okay, I see the direction you're going. I'd be interested to know what that is. Michell Lawrie just compete at that? Like, is that what it is? Is it a rivalry? Look, either way, I'm excited for him. You know, he turns 16 soon. I think he gets on the tour straight away, and it'll be exciting to see where he goes. He could be going on there as the WF World Champion.
Well, we don't know. Well, if it's... I haven't seen it yet. It might have been published. But the non-tour card holder qualifier, I'd be interested to see, because, again, I haven't seen the rules, but the ones in Europe last year, anyone could enter the non-tour card holder one, whether you went to QSchool or not. Last year's UK one, you had to have gone to QSchool, but that was brought up, and we were told that was going to change and it was going to fall in line with the way the Europeans one were done. Okay. Now, if that is to happen, like I say, I haven't read anywhere, so I don't know if it has changed or if it hasn't, but I'd be interested to see if that qualifier was after his 16th birthday.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you now, if the rules change, I'm going. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
Like I say, because we brought it up last year, because the European, we were like, well, you didn't go to QSchool, and they were like, no, the European ones, it's fine. We were like, well, and we were told last year that the UK one was going to be changed in line to be the same as the European.
I'll have a bit of that, yeah.
So if that is, and it's after his 16th birthday, I will be interested.
Oh yeah. I'll be looking that up as soon as we're finished, actually, just to check to see.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen, but that's what we were.
Age, like...
we were told last year that was going to fall in line the same as the European ones.
Yeah,
because Cristo Reyes qualified from the Mediterranean one, but he hadn't been to QSchool. That's how it came about, and we were like, as this happened, and
exciting. I think he'd add a lot to Ali Pali. I think he would add a lot. I think he'd add a lot, and it'd be a big blow for the WDF.
That would be a massive blow. Like I remember the last interview we did, your exact words were, the WDF need to get titles on him quick before he goes.
Yes.
And I remember that line vividly.
Yeah. The WDF works as a system in how things age. Because every year for, well, at least 20... maybe more. Every year it's always been, that title's not very, but how it ages You know, when Stephen Bunting won it, it was like ran down a bit, but then he's gone on to succeed, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Glenn Durrant, when he did his hat trick, it was like, yeah, but he's not beating anyone. It's rubbish. It's a terrible tournament. And then he goes on and does things, and then it actually franks those tournaments. It makes them important. In recent times, it's probably been good in the fact of Jimmy Vansky, Shane McGurk winning them and going on and get tour cards. But that seems to be where it is at the moment. Like, you win that, then you get a card. Yeah. It's not like before where you do that and then you go and you go top 32 or whatever, because it's been a bit slower for those guys. So I think if Michell Lawrie won it and then moved over, it'd be great, because I think he would go and achieve some bits, and it would sort of frank that tournament and just keep that tournament very relevant.
Yeah.
Its relevancy in its age and how it goes. Like, as much as you would love certain things to happen, like love Paul Lim to have won it when he played Shane McGurk in the final of 24. You'd have loved that. But
you'd have only loved it for 48 hours.
It wouldn't have been good for the future of the tournament. Like, if I won the Masters, it'd been terrible for it. How it's actually turned out actually wouldn't have been too bad.
I would have been great for 48 hours though.
Yes. Actually, for me, I'd have milked it for about 6 years. You know, I've milked a 170 finish for long enough. So, yeah, I could. But it's one of them where it's like, you need the people that, like, imagine if Luke Littler, like, think about the Super Series, how much they can benefit from having Luke Littler as a previous champion.
Yeah.
His name's on the trophy. You've got that footage. It's there. We own that footage of him winning this trophy. There's so much that you can put in that where you don't get that with everybody. I think Michell Lawrie winning would be good for their system.
Matt, pleasure catching up with you as always. We've done about an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, is that it this time? Yeah, a short one, yeah.
Pleasure catching up with you as always, buddy.